last Sunday of the year. This workshop is facilitated by Kemble H. This study relies on you listening, but please, we pray that you have your big book in hand and follow along with a pen, pencil, or highlighter. Make any notes and pause if you have to. Write these questions down and we'll answer them at the end of the meeting. We will keep everybody muted during the workshop except for the facilitators. Any inappropriate behavior will not be tolerated and you will be removed by one of the co-hosts. This meeting is being recorded, the audio portion only, and only of the facilitators. The recording will be shut down at the end of the workshop before taking any questions in order to preserve your anonymity. So have a really great meeting, everybody. And how we open it here was the step 3 prayer found on page 63. If you care to join me. God, I offer myself to thee, to build with me and to do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self that I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of thy power, thy love, and thy way of life. May I do thy will always. Thank you, everybody. Over to you, brother. I've made you Kemble. Yeah, just done it, mate.
There we go. I'm off of mute now. Happy Sunday, everybody. Great day to be alive and sober. My name is Kemble. I'm a recovered alcoholic. Friday date, February 3rd, 2020. Welcome, everybody. Anybody new, anybody struggling, anybody coming? Here we go through the program of recovery in the Alcoholics Anonymous program. A little bit different than the fellowship, right? You know, I was in that fellowship in and out for so many years. Every time I leave the meeting, I go get drunk again because all they told me was just don't drink today. Go to many meetings as you can, 90 and you'll get sober. But that crap never worked for me. That watered down fellowship, as my friend up in the corner says, that Burger King sobriety didn't do nothing but get me drunk again. Only until I was 12 steps through this program, I found recovery, and I since recovered from alcoholism. Thanks for the people that took their time to work with me. 42 years of drinking. Got introduced to the program in 1983 when I was a soldier. I didn't think I needed no help with no drinking because it was part of my life. So it was a lot of fun back then. As the years went on, it got unbearable, but I kept on doing it. Couldn't stop for nothing. So before we dive into the rest of the doctor's opinion, a couple of points and highlights I'd like to bring out. You know, the big book just said, we can't differentiate the true from the false, right? But in our understanding, if we're going to deal with alcoholics, practicing alcoholics like myself could not differentiate the true from the false, no matter what. I thought my drinking career was normal. I didn't see no problem with me getting drunk, falling out, going to jail, pissing people off, and people being pissed off at me. I said, I was living with a chronic alcoholic mind. So my life seemed normal. I couldn't see the truth, and I certainly couldn't see the false. But then I could also see, as we all probably done experienced this, that our drinking became injurious, and it gets us into trouble, right? But trouble didn't make us an alcoholic. No, it didn't. It caused my behavior to change, but that didn't make me alcoholic. What made me alcoholic is what we've been talking about, the allergy of the body, this physical factor. When we alcoholics turn into a point to where we become a real alcoholic, a chronic alcoholic, a true alcoholic, as Bill calls it, because he uses different words to mean the same thing. And I'm sure we in this meeting, we all qualify to be a real alcoholic. And we're going to talk about one of these chronic alcoholics here in a minute. So, we just can't differentiate the true from the false, no matter what. Every time I used to tell myself I'm going to drink 3 or 4, it never worked. But once I took that one, I'm already thinking about the second, the third one. And by the time I get to the 4th or 5th, I lose count. Next thing you know, I'm passed out somewhere, and I'm waking up in jail, waking up in a detox center or a psych ward. People thought I was really crazy. But the problem starts in the mind. See, the main problem of the alcoholic is centers in his mind. The mind tell me, okay, it's fine for you to take a drink. But then we already know we take this drink, it's going to cause us to be a different person. We real alcoholics, we got an abnormal reaction to alcohol. So the mind tells us to believe this lie. believe you can handle it. And we can't. We simply can't once we cross that point. Now, as that phenomenon of craving kicks in after their first drink, and all bets are off. And then, Bill mentions this obsession once or twice, but the obsession of the alcoholic that he talks about on page 23 and page 30 is not a symptom. But we dwell on that drink, right? Because when I be at work, all the years I work, I'm already thinking about when 10 o'clock at night get here so I can get that drink in my system. Then it got so bad that I was taking it at work, and then I'm dwelling on a drink while I'm at work. Then I'm going to go downstairs and get that bottle out the freezer on my job and take me a few drinks. By the time I get off, I'm already drunk. And then I'm looking for more. As Tony described this a long time ago to me. How many of us get thirsty as we drink? I know I did. Shoot, I remember early in my drinking career, I started off with maybe a pint, about 12 beers. But as time went on, when I crossed the line from being a normal drinker to an alcoholic, which I didn't know I was alcoholic. I thought I was normal. But then I could look at other people and see something wasn't normal about me. But I blamed it on PTSD and everything else, right? I didn't realize I was suffering. So when they sent me to AA in 83 in the military, I couldn't accept nothing they was talking about because they was taking out an hour of my drinking career. And I didn't want to have that. And I didn't hear nothing that I liked. So I said, if y'all people can't help me when my liquor supply run low, if y'all can't help me fill it up, and I don't need to come back. So I went and told my commander and go back to that place. And I went on for the next 11 years in the military, still being an alcoholic that I know today. So last week, on the bottom of page XXX, very last paragraph, I'm gonna share that, and then we're gonna move on. So it says, this immediately precipitates us into a seething cauldron of debate. Much has been written pro and con, but among physicians, the general opinion seems to be that most chronic alcoholics are doomed. So true. Notice you mentioned the word chronic alcoholics, right? Well, that's still a description of the real alcoholic or the true alcoholic. And in this case, we are doomed to an alcoholic death, or we can choose to live life on a spiritual basis. That's the only solution for people like us. Because, I tried my own solutions, and they fail utterly every time. Shoot, I tried to 12-step myself. I tried to fix myself. I didn't think I needed nobody to help me, but then I fell on my butt every time, laying flat on the bed again, on my back. It's I ain't knowing where I'm at for days at a time. In the hospital again. Thought I was dying. I wanted to commit suicide several times. I wanted to kill other people. I just needed some relief from this alcoholism, and I didn't know where to find it. See, because I thought I was God. I thought I could solve all my problems. I said, shoot, Kim, you started yourself drinking. You can stop yourself when you got ready. But when I got ready to try to stop, I simply couldn't. Of course, unless I was locked up or in the hospital or somewhere in jail, just couldn't do it. So top of page XXXI, it goes on to read, what is the solution? Perhaps I can best answer this by relating one of my experiences. About 1 year prior to this experience, a man was brought in to be treated for chronic alcoholism. He had but partially recovered from a gastric hemorrhage and seemed to be a case of pathological mental deterioration. He had lost everything worthwhile in life and was only living, one might say, to drink. He frankly admitted and believed that for him there was no hope. Following the elimination of alcohol, there was found to be no permanent brain injury. He accepted the plan outlined in this book. And notice, in this book, this is the only place we're going to find recovery, the program of recovery from alcoholism. It's not found in 12 and 12. It's not found in Bill's book. It's not found in the Daily Reflections or none of this other stuff. In this book. So that's what these 100 men and women, they used their experiences and got it all together, and they got this book printed. So this is the only place we're going to find the program of recovery. And thank God that this book was in here the whole time, but I was never taught this until I was 12 steps through this thing, right? So now the solution, this is a doctor's experience, right? Dr. Silkworth, is our medical saint for alcoholics. Once again, he worked over 40,000 of us, right? And he's seen the people coming in, people coming out. He had close relations with Bill Wilson and some of these other alcoholics I'm going to talk about right here. So he's seen chronic alcoholics coming in, doomed. And for some of them, he didn't even think a spiritual experience would do them any good. That's how bad these people were. They were hopeless. They were helpless. So the first one that we're talking about is going to be Hank Parkhurst. He's the number 2 alcoholic in New York. He got a story in the book called The Unbeliever. It's in the first edition. And he also wrote 2 employers in this book. So he checked in. He was suffering from a gastric hemorrhage, right? This is bleeding on the inside. He had lost everything worthwhile in life and was only living, one might say, to drink. I can relate my experience with him. That was my reason for living for a lot of years, just to drink. I used to sleep with my whiskey bottle in my bed so I wouldn't have to get up to get a drink. I just roll over, pour it in, then I might can get up and start my day. But the day was going to start out. By the time I did get out of bed, I'm already, twisted up. Mine was twisted. And that's because of that condition of the mind. It's telling me you got to have a drink before you can get up, before you can move around, before you can function. So, but then he frankly admitted and believed that for him there was no hope. Hopeless. We alcoholics are hopeless. We are helpless. I've been there. I used to look at myself in the mirror and say, man, what the heck wrong with you, Kim? Are you crazy? You just gonna kill your darn self. And it was true because I believed that. I never thought in my life I can live without alcohol. But that's all I was living for. 42 years of just living for alcohol. So I was in a terrible situation, which we all have been there. Or else we wouldn't need AA, right? AA ain't the only way to get sober, right? But for chronic alcoholics of our type, it took AA in order for me to find a relationship with God. And that produced the essential psychic change to the extent that we were able to recover from alcoholism. So, but then it goes on to mention in this paragraph of following the elimination of alcohol, there was found to be no permanent brain injury. Well, the doctor suggests the only relief we have is abstinence. Yes, so how do we attain this abstinence? Well, today we got this book. We go through the steps outlined in this book. We can find it. We find the solution in this book only. That's what worked for me. When I tried all my own solutions, they never worked. So he accepted the plan outlined in this book. The solution, the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. That's simple, spiritual solution. My religion didn't fix my alcohol problem. None of that. Myself couldn't fix it because a sick mind can't fix a sick mind. It just made me sicker. The more I drank, the sicker I got, but then I thought I was all right. I thought I was normal. So anyway, on to the next paragraph. He goes on to say, 1 year later, he called to see me and I experienced a very strange sensation. I knew the man by name and partly recognized his features, but there all resemblance ended. From a trembling, despairing, nervous wreck had emerged a man brimming over with self-reliance and contentment. I talked with him for some time, but was not able to bring myself to feel that I had known him before. To me, he was a stranger, and so he left me. A long time had passed with no return to alcohol. Well, a little bit more about my man Hank. He stayed sober approximately 4 years before he drank again. So what the doctor had going on, a year later he had recovered, right? But then he drank again. So he had another experience with this alcoholic, because he goes on to say, when I needed a mental uplift, I often think of another case brought in by a prominent physician in New York. The patient had made his own diagnosis and deciding his situation hopeless, had hidden in a deserted barn determined to die. Okay, the patient made his own diagnosis, right? See, we can't diagnose another person to tell them whether they're alcoholic or not. We got to make this diagnosis. In this book, in the big book, it gives us some examples. Well, why don't you go out and try some controlled drinking and see what you can do? Now, true enough, when we reach this state of mind and body, we might can stay sober for a week, month, maybe even a year. But at some point, it's going to come back and we're going to drink again. That's a step one promise. Relapse. We're going to drink again without a solution. Shoot, I relapsed over 40-something years because they had a solution, right? Shoot. And I promised myself I ain't gonna do it. I used to make all these old resolutions all through the year when I been come out for the night where I'm being destroyed the whole world and my family. I ain't drinking no more. Shoot, that same day, here I am, flat on my back again. Another trip to the hospital, to the psych ward. And then I gotta try to make up. Had stuff I don't even remember, right? What I said or what I did, they'd have to tell me. And shoot, I said, I ain't do all that. Shoot, but I did. I remember a lot of it. But then we talking about Fish Mayo. This is the one that hid himself in a deserted barn. He wanted to die, no doubt. I've been there in my experience. I'm sure a lot of us been there. I told you just a while ago, I wanted to die many times. But then that drink would rescue me from death. And then when I take that drink, shoot, I was going to find death. You know, just how insane it was. We go out and we start stuffing people. We say things to people, and it pisses people off. I was real good at pissing people off. Shoot, yeah. I think that was my job to piss people off. Because every time people started to see me after so long, they started dispersing. When they see me coming, oh, he come up the road staggering. So we better get somewhere. And they would. Because I was literally crazy. The alcohol had me like that. Had my brain twisted. I mean, hell, I'm crazy anyway, but the alcohol just made it worse. So, but you know, I don't have to do that today. I share one experience with you. There was about 7 or 8 people at the trunk of my car one night, and I come out my wife's door. Well, that's when we were split up. And I'll be there. And I went in my pocket and I cleared all of them out. And I thought they were bad. That whiskey had me, so I would kill all y'all. That's my first mindset. And then back to Fish Mayo. He got a story in our big book called Our Southern Friend. But you know, a key thing about it, he was rescued by a searching party and in desperate condition brought to the doctor, Dr. Silkworth. So following his physical rehabilitation, he had a talk with me in which he frankly stated he thought the treatment a waste of effort. Yeah, I thought that too, because I've been in about 12 to 15 treatment centers, right? And I lost count after 12, but I know I've been back there at least 3 since the 12 that I could keep up with. So I always thought treatment was a waste. I just go in there and get me some rest. So I thought I could build my tolerance back up, right? See, I still didn't know I was suffering from an allergy. Dudes are telling me in these treatment centers, home, don't get too hungry, angry, lonely, tired. They were telling me all this stuff. Well, if I'm trying not to do all this, then that's a problem alone. So then I leave out the same day and I stop at the first liquor store right down the street. And I'm drunk before I made it home. I did this every time. So then he had a talk with me in which he frankly stated he thought the treatment a waste of effort unless I could assure him, which no one ever had, that in the future he might have the willpower to resist the impulse to drink. Well, in the study of this book and in our experiences, we'll know that willpower is never enough. Shoot, I had so much willpower, but it didn't work when it came to my alcoholism. Alcoholism was way above what I could handle in my life. I could do a lot of other things that I could handle, right? When it came to alcoholism, it beat me down every time until finally it beat me into a state of reasonableness. Well, I cannot do this. So here's the thing about Fish Mayo. He did realize that he was a chronic and a hopeless alcoholic. And the doctor even said a spiritual awakening. He even doubted if a spiritual awakening would help. Because it says in the last paragraph here on XXXI, his alcoholic problem was so complex and his desperation so great that he felt his only hope would be through what we then call moral psychology, and we doubted if that would even have any effect. So this moral psychology. So the doctor's doubting, well, shoot, a spiritual awakening may not even help this guy. Of course, sometimes it don't help when we're in this state of mind and body. I mean, I've been there. I never thought nothing would work for me. But then it did, thanks to God. So flip the page XXXII. Last little short paragraph in the doctor's opinion. However, he did become sold on the ideas contained in this book. The ideas contained in this book. Well, where did these ideas come from? Well, the doctor's opinion brings out quite a few of these ideas, and with Bill's experience in and out of Towns Hospital working with Dr. Silkworth, Bill come up with some ideas, a possible means of recovery from alcoholism. So then, as it expanded, he got in touch with Dr. Bob. Then, as the early fellowship started getting one alcoholic talking to another, so they all came up with some ideas of means of recovery. So thank God. Then it says he has not had a drink for a great many years. I see him now and then, and he has a specimen of manhood as one could wish to meet. I earnestly advise every alcoholic to read this book through and through. And perhaps he came to scoff, he may remain to pray. William D. Silkworth, MD. So we thank William D. Silkworth, Dr. Silkworth, for contributing to Alcoholics Anonymous. Part of the problem. So, see, we allergic types, we are a different entity. We ain't like no hard drinker. We not like a moderate drinker. Once we cross the stage, that invisible line, as I call it, to become a real alcoholic, we're doomed pretty much without a solution. So he did, however, he took the 12 steps and he had the spiritual awakening. So the doctor's advice to us is to read this book very carefully. Just reading it wasn't good enough. So, today it's important that we get somebody that's been through the program, that's recovered from alcoholism, that can take you through this process. See, a non-alcoholic could not help me. The advice they were giving me, their own advice, their own opinions, most of them today I can't find in this book because they're driving off their own crap. How they do it? I'm God. I'm bigger than you. I got 20 years sober, but then you restless, irritable, and discontented. I don't want to follow your path. I want something. If you're gonna help me by the book. You say we got this big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. Well, take me through it. But when I found the Keystone Group almost 4 years ago, somebody reached out to me. So I was looking for somebody to take me through the book because I had been praying to God for months, and he sent me to this program. Somehow I found this program by the grace of God. Then I 12-step through it. Boom, my alcoholic problem commenced to be gone. Sure, we're not cured of alcoholism. Big Book tells we have a daily reprieve, contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. Well, let me tell you what helps me today, and I hope everybody can glean from this. It's my relationship with God that keeps me sober. Step 11, on awakening, the things we must do. As we go through the day, there are things we must do. When we retire at night, there are things we must do. And it's not waiting all the way till we get to step 11 because you'll be miserable before you get there. So I was advised to practice this early in the program. Like I'm awake today, right? I'm awake right now, alive and well. So as I go through the rest of my day, there are things I must do. If I get agitated or doubtful, I stop and pause. It means I stop and pray. Talk to God. God, help me through this. My favorite prayer is, God, help me right now in this situation. And he ain't failed me yet. So if you don't believe something that this program has to offer, just ask God to help you to understand what's being presented. Because this presentation that the book offers, it is important condition for us to have everything we need. It's going to teach us the problem, it's going to teach us the solution, and it's going to give us the course of action that's required for us to be successful in this program and in life, period. Because, we get a whole new attitude, a whole new way of life. Life for me is quite different today than it was, say, 5 years ago. Oh, yes. And it's all because of this program. Anyway, that's enough out of my mouth. So we're going to journey on to page 1. Bill's story. We're going to start the beginning of Bill's story. I remember people talking about, well, just start on page 1 and read the first 164 pages and come back to me. Okay, I tried that. But before I finished, I got drunk again because they didn't tell me to read what we just been presented. The prayerfuls, we got the title page. We got the forward to the first, second, third, and fourth edition. Then we got the doctor's opinion. They didn't tell me to read all this stuff and then come back and sin. So I'm still sitting here. I was still suffering and didn't even know what I was suffering from, right? I just knew I drank too much. So I thought that was my problem. Well, I drank too much, but that was my normal way of living. Shoot, I didn't know I was suffering from something that it only took a spiritual experience to fix. No, I thought I was suffering from self. I thought, well, self is our greatest problem. That's in life, period. Not only with the alcoholic. Even non-alcoholics have a problem with self because that's our greatest enemy. But when it comes to the alcoholic, self will kill us. No did for me many times. Selfishness, self-centeredness, all this good stuff. Anyway, on page 1, chapter 1 of our big book, Bill's story. I really love Bill's story. I learned so much from Bill's story. And I'm sure we all ourselves, we can see from Bill's experience, what he was going through, what he suffered from. So our purpose in Bill's story, the purpose of it in this book is for identification, not the differences. See, Bill was a stockbroker. I ain't never been no darn stockbroker, but I can learn from his story when it comes to alcoholism, what he went through. So I didn't have to live in New York. I lived out here in Alabama. But when it comes to his alcoholism, though, I could see there was something going on. So a little bit about Bill. I'm going to go ahead and start it. So war fever ran high in a New England town to which we knew young officers from Plattsburgh were assigned. And we were flattered when the first citizens took us to their homes, making us feel heroic. It was love, applause, war, moments sublime with intervals hilarious. I was part of life at last. And in the midst of the excitement, I discovered liquor. I forgot the strong warnings and the prejudices of my people concerning drink. In time, we sailed for over there. I was very lonely and again turned to alcohol. We landed in England. I visited Winchester Cathedral. Much moved, I wandered outside. My attention was caught by a doggerel on an old tombstone. Here lies a Hampshire grenadier who caught his death drinking cold small beer. A good soldier is never forgot, whether he died by musket or by pot. Ominous warning, which I failed to heed. 22 and a veteran of foreign wars, I went home at last. I fancied myself a leader, for had not the men of my battery given me a special token of appreciation. My talent for leadership, I imagine, would place me at the head of vast enterprises by which I would manage with the utmost assurance. No doubt. Back to the first paragraph. Bill makes a statement, I was part of life at last. And in the midst of excitement, I discovered liquor. Man, Bill discovered liquor, right? And he discovered that the liquor made him feel good. When he already felt good, alcohol made him feel even better. And when Bill felt bad, alcohol make him feel good. How many of us can relate to that? It make you feel good until you run out. Then you're not feeling so good. See, we all depressed and don't want to talk to nobody. We want to shut ourselves off from the world till we can find another drink. That was our solution back then, was another drink. That's the only solution I knew to all the problems I had in the world. And then when I get that drink, the problems pile up even more and more. Boom. So, on down, says, ominous warning, which I failed to heed. See, Bill started doing things because he does say a couple of sentences above that he was very lonely and again turned to alcohol. I can remember myself having many lonely days, at least thinking I was lonely. So I turned to alcohol. That solved my lonely problem. But when I get a couple of drinks in me, I wasn't finna be lonely no more. Somebody was finna pay. And I was going to harass somebody or something. So I took the loneliness would vanish. Like I said, once again, until it run out. I had to go home, go to bed, or pass out. Somebody had to drag my butt on. The loneliness set back in. Loneliness, despair, depression, desperation, all these good things would pop up. So Bill, he said he fancied himself as a leader. So in Bill's mind, he imagined he was a great man. Yeah, man. I can relate an experience with me too. I used to think the same thing. So So back in 1983, I remember calling my mama from somewhere overseas. I said, "Mom, I just feel invincible. I'm so full of whiskey." It's the one she can understand what I was saying. You know, that's what it was telling me. That I was a great man. Matter of fact, I wasn't crap, to be honest with you. But the liquor had me thinking I was such a great man. I wasn't great at all. And then Bill, he said, my talent for leadership. He imagined, right? Notice the word I imagine. See, we alcoholics, we can take our imaginations, but and we can come with some of the greatest ideas. Yeah, but Bill even told his wife, you know, me and my character, the more liquor we drink, the better ideas we can come up with. Boy, I know I could come up with some heck of ideas, right? Plenty of them. So that's the trait of us alcoholics. Boy, we think of some good stuff, man. But then the walls come tumbling down when the plan don't go through. So he imagined his talents would take him to the top. Yeah, I'm sure we all did that. You know, my dream was to play against Michael Jordan, right? Because we about the same age. When I played basketball in high school, I had a college scholarships to go to the University of Alabama. But the liquor took over, and I was just imagining then, right? So I never went. All the way to the time to go to college, I refused to go, and I went in the military. That was another one of my ideas. And Lord knows that idea just made things worse. See, I can tell you from my experience with alcohol and what this book has taught me and this program taught me, I was a real alcoholic the day I went in the military and didn't have no idea. No idea. See, this stuff is something serious. When we find ourselves taking a drink and can't stop, we can't shut off that phenomenon of craving because it's beyond our mental control to shut it off. That's a problem. Yes, and it starts in the mind. That's the tricky part. You know, as we go further into the program, we're going to be talking about the malady of the mind, right? See, it's that malady what tells us that we can do great things by taking a drink. Get you one, you'll be okay. Ain't nothing gonna happen. But shoot, if you was anything like me though, everything happened when I started drinking. Yeah. And then what the problem is you can't stop it. Oh my God, you can't shut it off. Then doom sets in. Doom sets in. So on page 2, we're gonna flip the page. And it says, I took a night law course and obtained employment as an investigator for a surety company. The drive for success was on. Yeah, we alcoholics of our type, we drive to be successful, right? Some of us can be successful, but what is life without alcohol? We simply didn't know. But then we got this example in the book. A man decided not to drink no more until he had a successful career, and he wasn't going to drink no more until he retired. Then 4 years after he retired, he ended up dead because he was already suffering from alcoholism, but his willpower kept him sober for a long amount of time, and willpower is never good enough. So he drank again, and it killed him. This stuff is incurable, it's fatal, and it's progressive. No matter how long we stay dry, if we decide to take another drink in the future, it's going to put us right back where we was the day that we left off. There's no doubt about it. Because the progression continues no matter how long we dry. It's there. The additive will forever be there. Forever. So then he said, I proved to the world I was important. Well, let me share a note about this with Bill. He said he want to prove to the world that he was important, right? Because he had low self-esteem. I can relate to that. I'm sure we all can. So the alcohol made him feel big. That would give him self-esteem. That would give him the drive that he was looking for. Yeah, but he got experience where he done lost jobs and business deals and everything else because of the alcoholism. Suffering from alcoholism. So my work took me about Wall Street, and little by little, I became interested in the market. Many people lost money, but some became very rich. Why not I? Okay, that's what I'm talking about. Bill said, why not I? Yeah, I thought I could become rich too, right? Just like all these basketball players making all these millions of dollars. That was my goal. That was my dream, right? Shoot, but alcohol changed all that good stuff. So then Bill goes on to say, I studied economics and business as well as law. Potential alcoholic that I was. Look, at this point, alcohol is already beginning to interfere with Bill's goals. And I think we all can relate with that, right? Or the alcohol creeps in on us. Our goals and future dreams seem to disintegrate because alcohol becomes more important than anything in life. Was in my case. So you see, he failed his law course. Sometimes Bill was too drunk to even write the answers on his paper. But I can relate to that too in my personal experience. I'd be sitting up in school, too drunk to even read the question because alcohol was taking over me way back then. And then Bill goes on to relate. Though my drinking was not yet continuous, it disturbed my wife. So check this out. The people around us, they're concerned with our drinking long before we are aware of it. So our spouses, friends, family, they may see things in us and we can't see it because we can't see the truth from the false. So we keep doing it. Well, it ain't hurt nobody but myself. When in reality, we killing them because we're not the same. Once we get that drink in us, we are not the same. So we had long talks when I was still her forebodings by telling her that men are genius conceive their best projects when drunk. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Well, we come up with some good old ideas, man, especially when we drunk. Man, I get to drink and I come up with some of the best ideas in the world. Man, what you talking about? I had a heck of an imagination. Still got one today, but it ain't baffled by alcoholism today, though. So he goes on to say that the most majestic constructions of philosophic thought were so derived. So I can see this now. But Bill reminds me so much. I'm sure we all can relate to this, though, man. We get these ideas after about that fifth or sixth drink. Man, y'all listen at this right here. I'm coming up with these ideas and plans and goals and dreams, only to be destroyed again without a solution. So then Bill goes on to relate. By the time I had completed the course, talking about this law course, he knew the law was not for him. See, Bill needed a softer and easier way to get to be a genius. So he wanted to go to Wall Street, right? Because these people were making all this money. So Bill said, I can squeeze in there in Wall Street too, and I can get rich like these people. Yes, that's the idea, driven by alcohol. So he goes on to say the inviting maelstrom of Wall Street had me in its grip. Had him in his grip. Business and financial leaders were my heroes. So Bill was looking up to these business and financial leaders because they were being successful. Well, I know we all like to have a little success, right? But they wasn't alcoholic like Bill was. Bill was tearing up some stuff, man. So out of the alloy of drink and speculation, I commenced to forge the weapon that one day would turn in flight like a boomerang and all but cut me to ribbons. The weapon that would one day turn in its flight like a boomerang. That alcohol becomes our weapon as well. Because shoot, the alcoholism will turn on us. Once we get enough of it in us, we get beyond human aid, whoo, no turning back. Wow. And it breaks us down. You know, this stuff causes tragedies in our lives, broken families, broken relationships. Everything seems to be broken. That's for the real alcoholic now. But then he goes on to say, living modestly, my wife and I saved $1,000. So back in the 1930s, right, $1,000 would be a very large sum of money compared to today's dollars. You know, stuff was real cheap back then, very cheap. But today, $1,000 when that's no money. Back then, you had a gold mine, $1,000. You know, so it went into certain securities, then cheap and rather unpopular. I rightly imagined they would someday have a great rise. I failed to persuade my broker friends to send me out looking over factories and managements. Oh, he tried hard, but a lot of them they didn't want to put up with it. But my wife and I decided to go anyway. I had developed a theory that most people lost money in stocks through ignorance of markets. I discovered many more reasons later on. And the reasons he discovered later on was that darn alcohol. So think about how much money we may have lost because of our alcoholism. How many broken deals we done lost due to our alcoholism. I can relate to Bill. I can identify with Bill. Because it says we gave up positions and off we rode on a motorcycle. Him and his wife Lois took off on the motorcycle and all this good stuff. The sidecar stuff with tent blankets, a change of clothes, and 3 huge volumes of a financial reference service. Our friends thought a lunacy commission should be appointed. That sounds like the crazy boy, right? But he need some psychiatrists or something to talk to these people here. See, perhaps they were white, Bill said. I had some success in speculation, so we had a little money, but we once worked on a farm for a month to avoid drawing on our small capital. That was the last honest manual labor on my part for many a day. We covered the whole eastern United States in a year. At the end of it, my reports to Wall Street procured me a position there in the use of a large expense account. The exercise of an option brought in more money, leaving us with a profit of several $1,000s for that year. So Bill had made a vast fortune by now. But then when it talks about him being a potential alcoholic before that, he was already a perpetual drunk, right? So, but he couldn't see it at the moment. He still think he didn't have a problem. Just as a lot of us, in our class, see, we a different class. We didn't think we had any problems with alcohol. We just thought alcohol was a part of our life. We thought it was a normal way of living. So then it turns out we're very abnormal because we have an abnormal reaction to alcohol, not like other people. So then he goes on to say, my drinking assumed more serious proportions. Now Bill starts to drink every day. Because he goes on to say that continuing all day and almost every night. Progression. So alcoholism is progression in Bill. A lot of us, we may start out, we could take a drink today and maybe a month, 6 months, or even a year. Some of us only drink on holidays or whatever, but it's progressive. If you get to the point of being a real alcoholic, if we develop this phenomenon of craving, better known as the allergy, we are alcoholic. That's what makes us alcoholic. We got the allergy in our body, which causes that phenomenon of craving. So it's very progressive, and it explains that. We just went through that in the doctor's opinion, page XXVII. We can see where this stuff progresses at. So the remonstrances of my friends terminated in a row, and I became a lone wolf. Losing friends. How many of us been through that losing friends? Close friends, as a matter of fact. They just start disappearing. And you may call them up. Well, darn, man, they ain't talked to you in about a week. What happened? Then they don't want you to talk about it. But we done did something to them. We done cussed them out, kicked them out the house, kicked them out the car, while the car driving down the road. I remember some stuff like that. I pushed jokers out my car back in the day that pissed me off. And that was just insane. And then you may forget about it. Dang, none of my friends come around no more. None of them want to talk to me. When I come around, they all leave. So, but we can't see it. So we lose all kinds of things. We lose friends, we lose spouses, we lose families, we lose contact with the world, living only to drink. That's my experience too, just like Bill. So he became a lone wolf. That's a bad situation to be in when you ain't got nobody to talk to, but that bother, right? I've been there many days. So then he goes on to relate. There were many unhappy scenes in our sumptuous apartment. There had been no real infidelity, for loyalty to my wife helped me at times, by extreme drunkenness kept me out of those scrapes. Loyalty to his wife. Yeah, extreme drunkenness. I'm sure Bill probably wanted to go be with some other women, but by the time he got to their house or something, he was probably so drunk that he couldn't do nothing. I had that experience too before. A beautiful wife. They had no business leaving home, right? Going looking for something that wasn't gonna do but cause me trouble. Then I get there and I be done passed out. So we can't prove whether Bill had any real infidelity in his relationship, but he had some close acquaintances, right? But I don't have no information actually on his infidelity. I have no idea, but no, Alcohol was my master, so I really didn't care about all that other stuff. So, and bottom paragraph on page 3. In 1929, I contracted golf fever. We went at once to the country, my wife to applaud, while I started out to overtake Walter Hagen. Walter Hagen was a golf superstar. He's sort of like the Tiger Woods that we got these days, right? That's how prominent he was. Here, Bill, like, let me say about my idea. I told y'all about I want to be I should have been the Michael Jordan before Michael Jordan was, right? Those the ideas I had in my head when they named them shoes Air Jordan. They should have read Air Hall on them. Those the ideas I had till the alcohol took me over and took away my basketball career. So, but Bill want to catch a Walter Hagen, right? That's the alcohol telling. And them ideas we come up with. So, but then because the book goes on to say, well, liquor caught up with me much faster. Liquor caught up with me much faster than I came up behind Walter. The liquor caught up with him. But we come up with these great ideas and things. Yeah, I'm gonna be better than this fair. I want to play this man. I want to overtake him. I want to do what he do, and I'm gonna do it better. But we can't. Alcoholism is a block. It blocks us off from our dreams, our career. It did it for me. But then he goes on to relate, I began to be jittery in the morning. Okay. Now that's getting to be a pretty rough stage. It's a condition that we alcoholics can have called delirium tremens, right? Some of us get the shakes. I ain't never had them, right? But I had very few hangovers. The only thing I want the next morning after a good drunk was another drink to start my day off. So, but then one more thing about Bill, because he does mention here that he went to live with his wife's parents, right? So he used their generosity so he could stay drunk. Figured he didn't have to pay no money staying with his parents, his wife's parents. So they gave him some extra money to drink with. I can experience that too. There was times I get kicked out of my home and I had to go stay with my sister. I said, shoot, this will give me some more drinking money right here because I ain't got to pay my bills at home. You know, so we'll use other people's generosity in order to acquire what we want to do. Not even having no concern for them. And it's terrible. So then the bottom last sentence on page 3. Golf permitted drinking every day and every night. Plenty of time to screw around. But see, when we became alcoholics, that became paramount in our lives. So if we can spend days drinking, we'll do it. When the allergy kick in, we're gonna do it anyway. I couldn't even go to work without drinking, and then I take my whiskey to work with me because I worked in the kitchen for 30 years. And the boss got to be, he already knew it. So I just had to open up to him, man. I'm bringing my whiskey to work. And they've allowed me to do it because that's the only way they could keep me at work. Because if I ran out of whiskey at work, I was going to leave. I was going to walk out the back door and go to the liquor store because it was right next door. So they made sure I had it. And but see, my boss is doing some other things too that I like to do. So we got along well as long as I could do my job. I don't call myself no functioning alcoholic. Let's not get it twisted because I was very dysfunctional, even on my job. So I hear people in these meetings, I was a functional alcoholic. No, you thought you was a functional alcoholic. No functioning in that stuff. I functioned in the military, but I was dysfunctional, right? For all them years. So a little bit more here on top of page 4. So he goes on to say, it was fun to roam around the exclusive course which had inspired such awe in me as a lad. See, Bill had a dream of playing golf, right? Being a big golf star. So, you know, it was since he was a young guy. So he acquired the impeccable coat of tan one sees up on the well-to-do. The local banker watched me whirl fat checks in and out of his till with amused skepticism. The people were watching. He said, well, shoot, this guy coming here putting all this money in here and doing the thing. That's actually what he was doing. He was making some money, right? But the thing about it, when we make all this money, what are we going to do with it? But I'm going to tell you, me, myself, I drank, man. And then I caroom around and try to satisfy everybody else. And that stuff never worked for me. So that's just the beginning of Bill's story. I'm going to stop right here for today. We'll dive deep into it next week. But a couple of things, right? When we become real alcoholics, we can't drink because of the allergy of the body. And then the malady of the mind. That means we powerless over alcohol. If we can't control the amounts that we take, we got a problem. Something is wrong. So the purpose of this big book, we study this book. We just don't read it one time. We study this book thoroughly, page by page, line by line. We got pages we reference to. Or we can always take one part of the book and we can reference to another part. I didn't get into too many page numbers today because I want to get this part done. But as we go through, y'all know I like to take you in one part of the book, then take you to another part of the book so they all tie in together. So, and then I talked a little bit last week about the disease concept of alcoholism, but that's from some of